Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. God bless you. For Duggar family latest news update, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. Jinger and Jeremy Vuolo have managed to make a career outside of the fame they got by being a part of the Duggar family. Duggar News followers know that the former had to come a long way to ditch the toxic conditionings she had blindly followed as a child up until she was an adult. But after leaving Arkansas and marrying Jeremy, she rediscovered herself. Over the years, Jinger has also released a few books about ditching the toxicity of her childhood religious teachings. She often talks about it on her social media and podcasts. In a new episode with her husband, Jinger spilled some beans about major things. Duggar News. Jinger opens up about her tough phase in marriage with Jeremy. Jinger Duggar, now Vuolo, has had a different career trajectory as compared to the rest of her siblings. Duggar News followers admire her as she actually decided to raise her voice against the toxicity she had to endure as a child growing up in a family practicing IBLP teachings. Because of this, Jinger had to undergo quite a few hardships in her life. She mentioned how the first year after she tied the knot with her husband Jeremy Vuolo in 2016 was quite tough. Jinger mentioned coming to the realization that all the religious teachings from her childhood didn't sit well with her. So it made her marriage with Jeremy tough as she came to terms with such a huge aspect of her life. However, Jeremy didn't leave her behind. He was there to support his loving wife, Jinger. He mentioned encouraging her to take up space and share her candid opinions about things. That's because during the first year of their marriage, she was performing in front of her spouse to keep him faithful as taught to her. But Jeremy helped her get rid of such a mindset. Jinger very lovingly said that Jeremy taught her not to apologize for her contrasting opinions and not to be fake. The latter helped her and reminded her how she was not a Stepford wife. Once she understood what her husband meant by that, she realized Jeremy wanted her to be herself. Think of her convictions, likes and dislikes, and so on. 9 years later, they are strong as ever. Duggar News. Jinger faced major identity crisis after marrying Jeremy Vuolo. Jinger talked about a lot of things about her first year of marriage with Jeremy Vuolo. After tying the knot, the couple left Arkansas and was in Texas for a while. It was a big change for the Duggar News star. That's because she was not used to being outside of her homecity. The very thought of doing things on her own began to scare her. She mentioned not knowing who she was outside of her family. It gave Jinger major identity crisis as being with close friends and family was all she had known. She had to struggle a lot with her sense of individuality. But everything worked out in their favor as she is very comfortable in herself, sharing her varying thoughts. Jinger Duggar and her husband, Jeremy Vuolo, are reflecting candidly on the early days of their union. During the Wednesday, September 18, episode of their Jinger and Jeremy podcast, the couple who tied the knot in 2016 were both surprised by their revelations about their first year of marriage. I'm looking back 8 years in and going, that year was a breeze. But then you said, last night, no, I think it was the hardest, and I think I agree with you, Vuolo, 37, said. We faced so much adjustment and so much change. Duggar, 30, noted that the struggles had nothing to do with her and Vuolo. We got along super well, she said. I would say there were challenges just from me adjusting. It was more like adjustment challenges. The 19 kids and counting alum shared that living with Vuolo for the first time and starting their lives together was the easiest part of the life change. It was leaving behind her big family in Arkansas for Laredo, Texas, that left her reeling. I realized in that time that I was afraid to go to coffee with a friend. I was petrified in fear of having to do things by myself because I had a security blanket of having people around me all the time, whether that was siblings or even a close friend, said Jinger, who is one of Jim, Bob, and Michelle Duggar's 19 kids. I was so used to that setting. The reality TV personality explained that something shifted for her after leaving her comfort zone for the first time. It was really hard. I had to figure out who I was as a person, she said. I had the identity crisis of, okay, I know who I was in my family, but who am I as an individual now? Jinger was also beginning to re-examine some of the fundamentalist Christian teachings she'd been raised with. I was realizing that some of these things that I thought I really held dear, like the teachings of Institute in Basic Life Principles founder Bill Gothard. I'm realizing I'm not believing that anymore, she recalled. And that was a huge shift. Jinger wrote a book about her conservative Christian upbringing, Becoming Free Indeed, Disentangling Faith from Fear, which was released in January 2023. In the memoir, she recalled being taught she needed to perform for her future spouse in order to keep him faithful, which resulted in her not expressing opinions during her first year of marriage. Gently encouraged me to speak my mind and let him know if I didn't agree with something, and to not apologize for that. He didn't want me to perform or be fake. He wanted me to be myself. More than once he said, "Jing, you're not a Stepford wife," she wrote. The first time he said that, I asked, "What's a Stepford wife?" When he explained the concept, I realized he wanted me to think for myself and figure out what my convictions were and what I liked and disliked. Despite realizing in hindsight how challenging their first year of marriage was, Jinger said on Wednesday that the growth that took place over that time was huge. "We weathered those storms, and we came out stronger," Vuolo added. Jinger and Vuolo share daughters Felicity, 6, and Evangeline Jo, 3. Jinger said during an episode of the pair's podcast last month that she's game to expand their family, especially with twins. "If we had another kid, had twins, I'd be down for it," she said. "I feel like it would be a lot of work initially, but then it's a faster way to have babies." Keep an eye on TV season and spoilers for more Duggar news updates.